seems like they're telling the truth. They don't tell me nothing wrong. My father, my mother.
The books.
And the books.
I just had to hear this buffoonery, this coonery.
It ain't no goddamn.
It's very, very black.
I don't like that.
Whatever.
It's very black.
You are tuned in to BeExposedRadio.com.
Not what's going to happen.
That's exactly.
Do y'all think that we're about to go to war with North Korea?
We're going to get tracked down, huh?
Do you think North Korea is going to bomb us? Is it going to be like a nuclear?
Probably.
No. Probably.
We lost all our allies. Yep. All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
Now, is that because of Trump or is that something Obama
Because
did?
of Trump.
He purposely lost them. He said it too. He doesn't want to.
All the people that don't like us now, there are nice pictures of Obama meeting with them.
She said, also look at his past campaign. Most of his endorsements were from the Klan. Y'all about to assassinate me. My phone, my hair keeps getting tangled up in this thing. But I have read this plenty of different times that the Klan, oh my God, y'all about to yell at me so bad. But just tell me if I'm wrong or right. Did they or did they not endorse Obama also?
No, they did not.
Was that a rumor that I heard?
Yes, it
I
was.
swear in my life I have heard that the Klan has endorsed Obama. I'm dead serious, yo. Like, please
be careful leaving.
Can somebody Google that for me? I'm dead serious. No. Like, I read somewhere. I think it was like when he ran back in
you want to meet his parents? These are his parents.
Says who?
Crystal Renee Radio Show.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Be Exposed Radio.
All right. We are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Black Body Man Radio Show. I'm your host, Brother Mike. I want to thank y'all for tuning in with us today. So let's get to it a little bit. First, let's welcome our guests. First, we want to welcome Mr. Jason Gomes. Jason, welcome back, brother.
Hi, everybody.
Appreciate you coming on today. Beside Mr. Gomes, we have Miss Samantha Nicole Dennis. How you doing, Miss Dennis? Government. Yeah, put the whole government out there.
I know.
You know? How you doing, Miss Dennis? Pretty good. And as always, the lovely Miss Janice is back.
How you doing?
You disappeared for a minute on us. Good to have you back. So welcome to the show, everybody. It's another exciting episode of the Black Body Man Radio Show brought to you by BlackBodyMan.com, only on Be Exposed Radio. Before we get started, I want to give out the number. I would love to have participation from everybody today. So call in, participate with us, 410-702-5657. That's 410-702-5657. So how was everybody's weekend? Anything uneventful?
I'm just getting over this cold.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Everybody's sick.
Yeah, you were sick too, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's going on?
A lot of germs going around.
Goddamn chemtrails. Getting everybody sick. Jason, how about you, brother?
I ain't make it back in the house till 5 in the morning, Mike. So I am.
Oh, okay. Man, we might have to talk about that on the show today. That sounds exciting. We might have to change the topic.
That's my kind of
Right. That sounds like a good night, brother. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm going to try to send out some invites to everyone so you guys can join in with us and participate in today's topic. I think it's going to be a really good show. I think this is going to be interesting. We're going to go over the 48 Laws of Power, which is a book written by Robert Greene. So I'll hold this book up. So this is the book. It's a well-known book. It's a national bestseller. Been around for a long time. I like to refer to it as a jailhouse book because a lot of cats I know that went to jail somehow ended up reading this book. Mm-hmm. You know, they come home and they know about this book. So yeah, so the book's the 48 Laws of Power. I'm familiar with the book. As you can see, my copy is it's a little old. I've probably had it now for close to 20 years. But I like what the book is trying to teach, even though I think some things have to be explained about the book beforehand to have everybody on the same page with what we're going to try to teach with it. So just off the top, has anyone been familiar with this book before this, 48 Laws of Power?
Yeah, I've been familiar with it. Yeah, I got a copy myself.
Okay, yeah. So Jason knows what's up. Samantha, Miss Janice?
No.
Never heard of it?
I've seen it out, but I've never taken the time to go in and read it.
Okay. Well,
I've heard of it before. I just haven't had a chance to read it.
Okay, yeah, it's a pretty good book. It's got 48 laws that the author is saying that we have to learn, adapt, and use in our lives if you want power, you know, and that's the whole thing I want to keep focus on. This is about power. So I want to take time out to go over the preface because I think it gives an in-depth explanation of how you are to receive this book, because when I first read it, it didn't match up with my moral code. You get what I'm saying? Because the book involves deception and false realities and things like that, right? So when I read it, I'm thinking, you know, like, this doesn't really fit who I am as an individual. But then I had to learn exactly why it didn't fit me and what he was actually trying to communicate. So I didn't learn that until years later as I got a little older and I matured in my knowledge and I started to understand the book a little bit.
Okay.
You know, so because of that, I want to go over some things so I can give people a proper understanding of how this reads. Because if not, I think people will maybe perceive it incorrectly if they don't understand it's about power. It's not about friends. It's not about relationships with family. It's about power if you want to achieve power.
Just not to cut you off, Mike, but my brother told me that the same thing because he read the book and he was like, the way people interpret. It's funny because he said this. He's like, the way you're interpreted is not really what it. You have to. Right. It's not for you. Like, you might be mad at your wife one day, but she's not your enemy. You don't totally crush your enemy. Right. You get what I mean? Not saying she's your enemy, so you can't use it. Right. With certain people, and people they can't distinguish how that they. So that's absolutely right. Right,
yeah, because it's about power, and unfortunately, in our society, right, like in order to achieve power, you're gonna have to break some eggs. You know what I mean? Like you just gonna have to break some eggs. You know what I mean? It's gonna be some people that's a little upset, but you know, I learned to look at it like, you know, people who get upset when you're on your path to achieve your power. They're really just mad because you're beating them to the punch. You get what I'm saying? You know. Go ahead.
What about the people who say they don't like to break eggs? They don't want to be involved in all of that.
You know what? And that's a good question. And he does speak about that in the preface. So we're gonna go over that. We actually gonna go over that. So let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. So we're gonna start off with the preface, and hopefully this gives a little bit of understanding, right? So again, this is the 48 Laws of Power. We have 2 shows left for this year, right? And Be Exposed Radio family will be shutting down until the new year comes in. So with these last 2 shows, we're going to focus on the 48 Laws of Power. That way we end the year on a power note, right? So this is part 1.
Power note.
Power note, right? Yeah, we're going to end it on a power note. And hopefully my audience feels the same way. And maybe it will encourage them to check out books of this nature and go into the next year with some of these laws that they might be able to apply.
I'm about to come into the new year with power.
Right. Let's talk about some power. Now we have to keep in mind this is about power, right? All right. So I'll just give a little read over right here before we go to our first break. Okay. So he says the feeling of having no power over people and events is generally unbearable to us. When we feel helpless, we feel miserable. No one wants less power. Everyone wants more. In the world today, however, it is dangerous to seem too power hungry, to be overt with your power moves. We have to seem fair and decent, so we need to be subtle, congenial yet cunning, democratic yet devious. So you see what I'm talking about, how this thing is going to play out, right? Okay, so he says the game of constant duplicity most resembles the power dynamic that existed in the scheming world of the old aristocratic court. Throughout history, a court has always formed itself around the person in power, the king, the queen, the emperor, the leader, etc. They had to serve their masters, but if they seemed too fawn, if they curved favor too obviously, the other courtiers around them would notice and would act against them. Attempts to win the master's favor had to be subtle, and even the courtiers capable of such subtlety still had to protect themselves from their fellow courtiers who at all moments were scheming to push them aside. So you see he's referring back to this as being a part of the old aristocratic court. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that's the first sign of the game. Look what he's referencing this back to, the old aristocratic court. So best believe and understand that the people in power still operate according to these rules. Right. You get what I'm saying? Because they were considered courtiers back then. Today, they're just considered co-workers and people of that nature. So that's a little insight. So we're going to go take our first break. And then we're going to get into this, man. Black Body Man Radio Show, 48 Laws of Power. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Well, if you made them, take care of them.
Yeah, that's
period.
The real.
You right.
That's the real deal.
It's period.
Right. And all that old money shouldn't go toward this, money should go to. If the child is with one of the parents 24/7, 7 days a week, you don't even come get your child every day. You come get your child once a month maybe, or once every 3 months.
Right.
You cannot dictate where that money goes, especially if the child ain't calling you about nothing. Now, if the child calling you every week, then you can question about where the child support is going. But if every time you pick up the child, they look nice, they ain't complaining about nothing, why are you worrying about where the money go at?
It is what it is. Radio show.
Check out what you missed on Be Exposed Radio.
Listen to Elizabeth Warren talking about Black lives and Black life.
Police are not occupying armies. This is America, not a war zone. I speak today with full knowledge that I have not personally experienced and can never truly understand the fear, the oppression, and the pain that confronts African Americans every day.
Don't you just want to kill yourself? I mean, not from what she was saying, but from the music that was playing in the background. I just want to, oh gosh, but every word she said was prolific, and it did not come from what is now becoming mainstream is white privilege. She has a sensibility about her, and the way she speaks about different things that has, from the first time I saw her, I can't remember what state she's in. I think she's in like North Carolina or something like that, somewhere I'm not going. That some kind of sensibility about her that makes me like her for president. But she's not running. We have this old guy that looks like he should be on the popcorn box. Then we have Martin O'Malley. Fine. We'll settle if we must. Hillary, who I like, but she just has to fight against all this controversy, and that's the hard part of it all. Then we have Huckabee. I could have swore he died, like in one of those books, like a fairy tale book. Trump, we're going to get to you in a moment, meet with all these black folk in one room, and they just fell for it. Like, he must have been giving out $100 bills behind them.
Check out the Talk Lately show every Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
I'm your host, Brother Mike. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. In case you missed the top of the show, today we are talking about the 48 Laws of Power. This is a book written by Robert Greene. Robert Greene is not African American, but the book I think is important for us to learn about because it's got some rules in it that whether we choose to apply the rules or not, the rules are being applied every day, right? So let me go over the top here again. The feeling of having no power over people and events is generally unbearable to us. When we feel helpless, we feel miserable. No one wants less power. Everyone wants more. In the world today, however, it is dangerous to seem too power hungry and to be overt with your power moves. We have to seem fair and decent, so we need to be subtle, congenial, yet cunning, democratic, yet devious. So just right off the bat, this is the beginning of the book where he's cluing you into what's going on. How do you guys feel about that? Do we want power? And if we don't have it, is it unbearable to us? Because that's what he's claiming.
I don't know. Is devious meaning cutthroat? Like, what's going on with the devious?
Well, I mean, I don't know what his exact definition is, but evidently it deals with doing some things that, you know, you might not normally do in order to achieve the power. Right?
Step outside of your normal, I guess.
I think it's out of your morals.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Things that you wouldn't normally do to get where you want to be.
Right. Like, haven't we all worked with someone who you thought was like shiesty, but then they end up moving up the ladder? Mm-hmm. Okay. So evidently, it's got to be a little deviousness involved in this, right?
Right. Yeah. But see, we saying step outside of your morals, but once you do it, those were already your morals.
Mm-hmm. You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't do what you don't want to do.
That's true. But do you do what you got to do to get where you want to be?
Then that means that's something that you want to, because it can't be, to me, it's black and white. If you do it, you do it. It's no, you done it because it's in you. Because there are people who will read this book who cannot do it.
Right, exactly.
It's not in them.
It's not in them
so
at all,
it's in you.
Right. That's true. That's a good point.
That's just my
That's a
my
good way
take
of
on
looking
it.
at that. Yeah, because it is people who, you know, definitely would not be able to do the things this book requires. And that's why I want to go over a lot of the preface to give the understanding. Okay, so you notice he referred back to it being the old aristocratic court. So, you know, you're going back to old times.
Which is still in play today.
That's what I'm saying. Still with the government. That was the government back then. Okay, so they still operating according to these rules. So he says, meanwhile, the court was supposed to represent the height of civilization and refinement. Violent or overt power moves were frowned upon. Courtiers would work silently and secretly against any among them who used force. This was the courtier's dilemma. While appearing to be being the very paragon of elegance, they had to outwit and thwart their own opponents in the subtlest of ways. The successful courtier learned over time to make all of his moves indirect. If he stabbed an opponent in the back, it was with a velvet glove on his hand and the sweetest smile on his face. Instead of using coercion or outright treachery, the perfect courtier got his way through seduction, charm, deception, and subtle strategies, always planning several moves ahead. Life in the court was never-ending game, it required constant vigilance and tactical thinking. It was civilized war. Now, when we look at a work situation, is work civilized war? You know, like when you're at work, do you have to use seduction, charm, deception, and subtle strategies to get the things you want?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay? So, it's some substance to what he's saying here, right? Like, especially as a black person, you know, like every black person on the planet knows, first of all, at any job, there's a certain code of conduct we have to have because we are aware of the way the game is played.
It's a little different, you know, when you was doing it. It's a little different now knowing about it and now knowingly doing it. Like,
it changes it?
Yes, because now, you know, you're going to feel like you've been a little deceptive.
Yes. Yes.
When before you just, you know, you was just.
Definitely. You definitely going to feel a little deceptive.
Thought you was just playing a game, but I guess like Jason said, it's in you.
So do we agree that there is a game being played?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now,
when you go into work, you got to put on that personality that you, a team player, that you with it, but as soon as you walk out, as soon as you clock out,
okay.
That's how you really feel it comes out.
So we agree it's a game being played. Now, is this game only at work?
No.
No. No.
Okay, so what else does this game apply to?
Relationships.
Okay, relationships. Jason, Miss Janice.
I just don't like it. I don't like this game.
Okay, all right. That's fair. That's fair. That's what Jason was talking about. Like, this ain't gonna be for everybody.
So, Mike, I got some stuff that I'm just gonna say and not say, but it's gonna be hard.
Hey, go for it, brother. Here at the Black Body Man Radio Show, we love a little controversy. Go for it, brother.
So, like, the best people to actually do these laws, to really have the people who have them naturally, because it's almost like a person who does a lot of this naturally, when they read the book, they're gonna take to it. That's why I say if it's in you, because if you don't really have it naturally, you can get it, but you're gonna go through a stage where you're confused and you're gonna be bothered for a second.
Yeah, like I said, my initial reading, I felt like a lot of the laws went against, my moral code. Yeah. Right. But like I said, over time, rereading, learning more about it, I realized, okay, this is really not about my personal morals. No. This is about what you want to achieve in life. You know what I mean? Like, there's nobody who has power that hasn't left some footprints on other people's backs to get that power. And as much as it seems immoral based on, like, I'll just say black codes, the way we come up. You understand what I'm saying? Like, deception, it's not something that we try to specialize in. But here's a case where he's saying, if you want power in this world and you want to make it in this society, whether it's your job or your reputation or whatever, you're going to have to become a little cunning. You're going to have to become a little deceptive. You're going to have to learn, some rules to the game. So if we agree that the game exists, this is some of the rules.
Well, it definitely exists because, people have been using people forever to get where they want. True.
Okay. So he says, today we face a peculiarly similar paradox to that of the courtier. Everything must appear civilized, decent, democratic, and fair. But if we play by those rules too strictly, if we take them too literally, we are crushed by those around us who are not so foolish. The court imagined itself the pinnacle of refinement, but underneath its glittering surface and cauldron of dark emotions lie greed, envy, lust, hatred, boiled and simmered.
And too, everyone uses everyone, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative thing.
And I think that's what he's getting at.
Yeah, because,
you get what I'm saying?
Because, say, like, and it's so funny that you say that, because they do put these, like, the ideals we have in our head is not from us. It's from, like, the European society we've been set up in. So
it's
they might put,
based.
they might put certain ideals on you, but that's actually not what you really feel and think. That's what's been placed in you, because unless you've explored outside of that, you really won't know if it's your true ideals.
Right. Okay.
So going back to say everybody uses each other. Like, if you see a man, right, and you like him, you think he's nice and he can take care of you, he starts to become a little bit more attractive than the guy who can. What? That means you're using him then, and you shouldn't date him. And nobody wants to hear that. Right. So well, it's the same thing.
It's a power move.
Yeah.
It's a power move. Like of course I'm old school, right? So I've always felt like women have that option of that power move.
Absolutely.
Like as a woman, right? You have the option of deciding I'm going to be Miss Independent and I'm going to get my degree, you know what I mean? And I'm going to take care of myself, and everybody's cool with that. But you also have an old school option as a woman of saying, no, I'm going to find a man that can love me and take care of me and allow me to be a nurturing mother at home and a stay-at-home wife. See, women have those options, you get what I'm saying? Now the question is, the second option, the latter of the two, is that a power move? Now, before we answer that, let me just say this. Understand that we live in a society that teaches you when it comes to marriage, it should be about love and happiness. But yet 80% of divorces are over finances. Yeah. But in that same token, if a woman was to say, I want to marry this man because of his money, everybody frowns on it. Somebody talk to me.
I just saw a post on Facebook the other day.
Somebody talk to me.
And a woman posted a picture of an engagement ring. She said, if you're not coming with at least 3 carats, then you're not in a financial position to enter that business arrangement of marriage.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying.
It's a fine, not going to say a fine line, but some people go into it for love,
right?
And some people go in for financial stability. That's, I guess, a personal choice.
Definitely, and y'all have that option.
No, I'm sorry.
The whole thing was that if you're getting her a single carat, then you're not financially, I guess, stable enough to even think of entering into that business arrangement. So I can understand that.
Before, I would have tore her to shreds, the woman who said that. But now, no. As I get older, I realize that's her personal preference.
Yes.
She's not wrong.
No.
As much as you wanna, as much as we still have our own thoughts in our head, like she's wilding.
And is it a power move?
She's not wrong.
See, I think it's a power move because even if you go back to earlier times, right? If the king found a beautiful peasant woman and decided to take her on as his wife, she becomes the queen. That's a power move. She went from being a peasant to being at the top of the ladder. You understand what I mean? It's a straight power move. So people do marry for power moves. You get what I mean? And it is to, you know, get some power. You know, like if you know, marry the CEO of AT&T, guess what?
That's how all those arranged
it's
marriages.
Power that comes with that. Right. Now
All
you got
those
the
were
Eastern world who does arranged
those were
marriages.
all done to further the family and the bloodlines. Like
Right.
that was all it was for.
And even if you go back to like biblical stories, you know, you'll see in the stories that when the man came and said, I want to take, you know, your daughter as my wife, like he had to give the family something. Family's like, okay, what are you offering us? Well, I can offer you 50 pieces of gold, you know, 2 mules, you know, we'll feast for 3 days. But like, it wasn't just, you just get to take my daughter. It was like, no, wait a minute, brother. You know, I need to know, you know, what's going on and what's in this for us. You know, whereas today, that's kind of frowned upon. You know, if a man was to say, well, I don't mind you dating my daughter, but like, what you doing from a family? You know, what are you offering us for a daughter? You about to take my daughter away and you want me to be convinced you're going to take care of her from this day forward. So what are you leaving us? Now, that's biblical. That's in everybody's Bible. But yet, if that was applied in today's standards, how would that be looked upon?
It'd be looked upon as wrong only because somebody put that view, another point of view out there, which that's been drilled in your head.
That wasn't fitting with society.
You know, it's not fitting with society when you really want to look at it.
Right. Okay. All right. So he says our world today similarly imagines itself the pinnacle of fairness, yet the same ugly emotions still stir as they have forever. The game is the same. Outwardly, you must learn to quickly be prudent and to do as Napoleon advised, which is place your iron hand in a velvet glove. If the courtier of times gone by, you can master the art of indirection, leaning seduction, charm, deception, and subtle maneuvers of your opponents that will attain you heights of power. You will be able to make people bend to your will without them realizing what you have done. If they do not realize what you have done, they will neither resent nor resist you. So this is trickery. Treachery is afoot. What do y'all think about that? He's saying the world is the same today. You know, he's saying even though I'm giving this to you and in an old school aristocratic court, I'm just telling you where it started. But the world is the same. It operates under these notions. So this is why I thought it would be important to talk about this on the show, because I know a lot of us are not really like familiar with this, and but do we need to be to make it in this society if you want any type of power?
I think we definitely need to be, because what I'm learning today, like I wish I would have known this like 20 years ago.
Right.
So
definitely is going to have people going back to work in 2018 with a new vibe, because we're going to lay out these laws over the next 2 shows, and I think it is going to make some people operate a little differently, because this is the game. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is the game. I don't make the rules to the game, and I always felt like as a black person, we never took time out to actually learn the game. We just know the game from our perspective, which is, as a black person, you want to kind of fly below the radar at work. You want to do just enough where you're not labeled antisocial, but not enough where they all in your business and can pass judgment on you. Like, that's kind of the balancing act.
No, that's
right.
Yep, that's it.
Right. That's the balancing act, right?
But not even to have used it for your benefits of, you know, climbing the corporate ladder or anything like that, but still just using it, like just being aware of your surroundings.
Well, you know, this man is saying,
and paying attention
that
closely,
you use
more
this
closely
power
to
for
folks.
all situations.
But Mike, I was just about to say that. So, can you use this book, like, within the social confines of the black community?
I think you can. It may not be received well, because you know, when black people find out you're deceiving them, you know, they like to come talk to you.
But
about
even some of these laws, like you can read them, but even how our social constructs are set up, I mean, can you really even? I mean, can you really use it? at the end of the day.
Of course, I've read the book, so I think you can. But hopefully through this discussion, we're gonna find out what everybody else
posing
thinks.
the question.
Yeah, no doubt, and it's a good question. Can this apply to us? So let's find out. Let's see if the audience will end up participating and give us their take, as if this actually can apply. All right, so I'll keep it moving here, right? Because we got a little bit of info going on here. All right, so here we're gonna get into what I see as being, a typical response to this type of, book. So he says, to some people, the notion of consciously playing power games, no matter how indirect, seems evil, asocial, and a relic of the past. They believe they can opt out of the game by behaving in ways that have nothing to do with power. You must be aware of such people, for while they express such opinions outwardly, they are often amongst the most adept players at power. I'm going to stop right there. What do y'all think about that? He's saying the people who come forward and be like, oh, I can't do that. That deals with deception. I'm not that kind of person. I'm too honest. He's saying that's the person you better beware of, because that's the person that understands the game and could be playing it better than everybody else. What y'all think about that?
I agree with it. I agree with that. Cause
have you ever experienced that?
That's like the classic example of like when you're in the bar playing pool and the guy that, oh, I can't play, I'm terrible. And then once you play and put some money
that money out, he lets you win a couple games.
That's what that sounds like.
Then he want to bet some money, and then all of a sudden, this dude break out a skill set, right? Okay, so he says they utilize strategies that cleverly disguise the nature of the manipulation involved. These types, for example, will often display their weakness and lack of power as a kind of moral virtue, but true to powerlessness without any motive of self-interest would not publicize its weakness to gain sympathy or respect. Making a show of one's weakness is actually a very effective strategy, subtle and deceptive in the game of power. Now that's deep. So he's saying like these people are purposely making you think that they're weak. And in all reality, they know the rules to the game and they playing you like a fiddle.
You know what? That's very true, because somebody did something to me, but not like anything like too crazy, but I knew it was a female. I knew all of her.
What?
I knew all
Jason?
of her. I knew
it was
all
a
of
female?
You know what's so funny? I never
Jason got a lot of females.
No, I don't. I pulled her. You know what's so funny?
Don't put that out there, huh?
Mike, I watched her from beginning to end, and I knew everything, but I never said anything to her. I just watched.
Now,
So the reality is, in her mind, she thought she was like, she thought she was maybe playing me or whatever, but the whole time, be careful, because in her mind, she thought she got away with something.
Okay.
Like just in with certain behaviors, and I just never said anything. I just looked.
That's a power move.
That's it. So until this day, in her mind, she's probably like, I was never passive. I just really just wasn't interested. Right. So it wasn't even that I was even passive. I just saw it. I knew it. And it's like, I know something that you don't know, but I'm really just laughing at you. But in reality no, I'm serious. And I'm pretty sure it's probably happened to me before when you think you're being sneaky and doing stuff. And people just see you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they know the real deal.
So since I knew the real deal in that particular situation, I just didn't. So that's very true.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a strategy. You know what I mean? Showing one's weakness is a strategy to be deceptive and have people think that you're not as strong as you really are. Okay, so he says another strategy of the supposed non-player. These are people who say they opt out of this game, right? Another strategy of the supposed non-player is to demand equality in every area of life.
Yep.
Everyone must be treated alike, whatever their status and strength. But to avoid the taint of power, you attempt to treat everyone equally and fairly. You will confront the problem that some people do certain things better than others. Treating everyone equally means ignoring their differences, elevating the less skillful, and suppressing those who excel. Again, many of those who believe this way are actually developing another power strategy, redistributing people's rewards in a way that they determine.
Yep. Again, I had a coworker who always wanted things to be fair, but I've noticed that she would control the situation.
Right.
That's also, so in order to make things fair, she tried to, and actually when I was reading this book, I had said that to everyone just for just my own shits and giggles.
Right.
And I said she's just redistributing power. Everyone just was like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. See, that kind of flew above their head.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
So that's actually damn.
This is kind of scary because the more you read about the non-player,
it starts to fit.
It
starts to fit. It starts to fit. Yeah, I think that's true. You know what I mean? Like, we do kind of have a mindset of treating everybody equally, right? But I can remember a particular situation with my business. I had my best friend working for me, and at one point, you know, he kind of felt a little uncomfortable because he was like, you know, I feel like they looking at me like I have privileges that they don't because I'm your best friend and you happen to be, you know, the dude in charge with the company, right? So I explained to him, they are, and let them, because you have to understand that if you are my best friend and I own the company, you do have an advantage.
Absolutely.
And the people who are not happy with that are only not happy with it because they're not you. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if they could change places with him, they would. You understand what I mean? So I told him, you do have special advantages. And that's true on any job. Like, if you go to a job and then you in there, and say you a guy, right? And then you see a woman that you attracted to. And then you tell one of the other workers, like, yeah, I really like, you know, Shorty over there. I'm going to go holler at you. And then dude say, yo, don't do that. You know that's the boss's nephew's wife. Couple people have already been fired about her trying to get at her. See what I'm saying? So she has a privilege, and they warning you up front, like, yo, be careful with that. You understand me? Because she look like she regular like us, but she's not. She's got a position where she's in with the people who sit at the top. So yeah, I believe that you can't treat everybody equally alike, and I mean, and I'm not going to.
I just feel like I've been playing these strategies, but I just didn't know anything about, you know.
And, and I know it's different to hear this.
Here I go. They're gonna probably eat me up. A woman are the natural power players. To me. It's really no. I'm serious.
Oh,
like,
I know.
The strongest, like, because like you said, they even have a. I don't like now. But how would you? But you'd have to worry about how you look at society. Like, you guys have that option to take care of yourself or to be taken care of if you find the right man. But even if I have the option to take care of myself, and for me that's the only option, because if a woman takes care of me, I look crazy to society.
Right? Yeah, as a man.
There's really no way to. I mean, you could say that. Everyone does things differently. That's bullshit. You look crazy. You look crazy. Your mama will be talking about you like, you can't believe he over there staying with that girl. You know he ain't got no job. That's what they saying about you on the phone. When you,
right.
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely think we have some of that naturally, because you're over there reading, and I'm just like,
naturally,
that's
Well,
me all day.
I like how he points out, right? I really like how he points out that treating everyone equally means ignoring their differences, right? And elevating the less skillful and suppressing those who excel. Like, I've had jobs before where I was excelling, right? And because it was people who've been there longer than me, they basically asked me to tone down, because people who've been there longer than you ain't doing as well as you, and they getting a little offended. And I remember thinking, this is crazy.
That's not your fault.
That's not my fault. You know what I mean? That's not my fault.
So even if you read something, let's just say in Buddhism, or unless you're the Dalai Lama, when it says treat everybody fairly, so does that go against what we naturally do?
I think we as a people are very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, delusional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Like delusional about the reality of the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to make it in this world thinking I'm just going to be honest Abe all the time. And we're going to get into why, you know, some situations is going to require you not to be as honest as you normally are.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I just took a class on that, treating everybody fairly. Like, yeah, you don't have to do that in the workplace anymore.
No.
I just took a
mean,
leadership
if I own a company and I hire my brother, he's not getting treated like the rest of y'all. I'm sorry. That's just what it is.
There's a
he's
relationship
my brother,
since birth.
Right? So when he messes up and something else I would have fired y'all over, I'm not firing him. And you can come to me and complain about that, but I'm just going to tell you what, that's my brother. Like,
but
what
there's
do you
also a downside
expect?
to that, because if your brother really doesn't make that mistake, you're going to hold him to a higher accountability.
Right,
because
exactly.
he has that relationship.
Now, that's the side nobody's going to complain about.
Right.
So when I expect more from him than I do them, they ain't going to complain about that. But they're going to complain if they see him get a little edge. But I think in this society, you have to face the reality that that's how things work.
Yeah.
You will have an edge if you are somehow in cahoots with the people that sit at the top. Yeah. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, because there's about 6 laws that I just seen in here that I know for sure I've changed here recently in like the past 60 days without even know I changed them, which is wild.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that one, oh, that one, oh, that one. And I was like, all right, look, we got to start the show.
So these are strategies of people who try to opt out the game, right? So he says yet another way of avoiding the game would be perfect honesty and straightforwardness. Since one of the main techniques of those who seek power is deceit and secrecy. But being perfectly honest will inevitably hurt and insult a great many of people. That's what I was referring to, right? Some of whom will choose to injure you in return. No one will see your honest statement as a completely objective and free of some personal motivation, and they will be right. In truth, the use of honesty is indeed a power strategy intended to convince people of one's noble, good-hearted, selfless character. It is a form of persuasion, even a subtle form of coercion. All right, so now we're getting into the honest Abe thing, right? And he's saying the people who take this route, even that's a form of power, because they try to get you to believe that they just noble and good-hearted, so forth and so on. So if they can convince you to believe that, and then they honestly don't live like that all the time, then that was a power move they pulled on you. So what do y'all think as far as, is saying honesty can end up hurting people's feelings? Because I think we've all been in situations where we weren't honest, right?
Yeah, I've curved people not to hurt their feelings. So let me just shut up because I don't need none of y'all stopping my power.
Right, but haven't we all been in situations, where we knew the honest answer wasn't really going to go over so well?
Yep.
Because you try not to hurt people's feelings.
Right. Bingo.
Because that's even more dangerous than, I'd rather lie and be safe than to hurt somebody and be looking over my shoulder.
Okay.
Point blank, period.
Right. Well, he says learning the game of power requires a certain way of looking at the world, a shifting of perspective. It takes effort and years of practice, for much of the game will not come naturally. Certain basic skills are required, and once you master these skills, you will be able to apply the laws of power more easily. So he's letting you know that this is going to go against your moral code, but this is only to be used if you want to achieve some type of power in your life. If you're perfectly happy with being powerless, then you don't need to pay attention to any of this. You can just continue in your everyday life.
Well, maybe. What about if you don't feel like you're powerless and just still not using it and still, believe that you still have a certain level of power?
I think his perspective is you're either trying to get power or you're not. And if you're not, he sees it as being foolish because he's saying everybody around you is trying to get power. So if you opt out of the game, you're only going to be crushed by everybody else who's in the game. Right. Like, nobody else is going to take that stance with you. Nobody else is going to be like, I'm with you. I'm just being honest. They ask me if I took one. I'm going to tell them I took 2 pens. Right? And then the other people like, shit, I ain't telling them nothing. I took 2 pens and a magic marker.
What pens?
Right. What pens, right? So you're going to be crushed by those people, because the people even over top of them are still playing this game. So I thought it would be important to go over it to find out, is this something that we should be trying to learn, you know what I mean? Or is this just like, this ain't for us? Now, my personal opinion that I got from it when I first read it was, I also saw this as a blueprint for the way certain individuals in this society get down, dominant society in particular. So for me, even if you don't want to learn to apply these rules, the book is worth reading because you'll at least know what you're dealing with when you go back to work.
Right.
You understand what I mean? So it's value in it, whether you choose to opt out of the game or just understand that you're in the game and that you playing it. I think it'll get you through work a little easier. You will suddenly understand why people do some of the things they do.
So, and it makes people uncomfortable because, right, you have that book, right? I have that book. We never talked about having the book.
Yeah, we never talked about it. And that's why I'm doing it. But hold that thought, Jason. We're going to take another break. We'll be back. Black by the Man radio show is heating up. 48 Laws of Power. Join in and let us know. We'll be back.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
Every Every time.
You just have to really
have faith and believe.
Right, and it's everything isn't gonna be cotton candy and clouds all the time. But you have to, even in the midst of a storm, you have to speak light over a situation and life over a situation. You cannot always go into every situation. Sometimes it gets above you, and sometimes you got to speak over yourself and bring yourself back to focus, and because you already there. But in most cases, we take ourselves there. We walk ourselves over that dark threshold because it's easy for us. It's easy for us to be victimized and to be downtrodden and in that dark place when things happen to us. But you got to figure out how to successfully move into that. And a lot of you may say, what does this have to do with being an artist? It has a lot to do with being an artist, because I don't want to just talk about ticket sales. I want you to be a healthy, long-lasting artist in your own right, a long-lasting entrepreneur. And sometimes we try to mask what's going on with us with putting ourselves to work. So I'm gonna put myself deeper into this project, and it was times where I didn't want to be a part of things. I didn't want to be, because I wasn't whole. I wasn't happy with where I was at, with things that was going on in my life, and I didn't care how successful a play was. Like I just didn't care, but all I knew was to work. So I would put myself deeper into work, and I didn't address what was going on, and sometimes that made the situation worse, because once this play or this project...
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Jason, we back on, brother. So welcome back to the Black Body Man Radio Show. Today we are going over the 48 Laws of Power, which is a book written by Robert Greene. If you guys want to check it out and learn a little bit, we're going to finish up our last 2 shows of the year on this because it's a pretty in-depth conversation. So feel free to join in the conversation and give us a call, 410-702-5657. That's 410-702-5657. Join the Black Body Man Radio Show. All right, so let's see. Where was I at on here? Let's keep this thing moving. All right, again. Okay, so we last left off when he was saying learning the game of power requires a certain way of looking at the world and shifting perspective. Now, that's what I believe with this book. Like, it forces you to look at things from a different perspective. You know, like you can't look at the world through the eyes that you have if you want to try to attain power. Certain rules that go on. He says the most important of these skills and power's crucial foundation is the ability to master your emotions. An emotional response... did I lose my mark here? Yeah, an emotional response to a situation is the single greatest barrier to power. A mistake that will cost you a lot more than any temporary satisfaction you might gain by expressing your feeling. Emotions cloud reason, and if you cannot see the situation clearly, you cannot prepare for and respond to it with any degree of control. Anger is the most destructive of all emotional responses, for it clouds your vision the most. It also has a ripple effect that invariably makes situations less controllable and heightens your enemy's resolve. If you are trying to destroy an enemy who has hurt you, you're far better to keep him off guard by feigning friendliness than showing your anger. All right, let's talk about emotions. I know I've been a victim of this before. Sometimes people just piss you off, right? But he's saying this is dangerous. Have you guys ever had a situation where your emotions got the best of you? Say even like work or, you know, being out and about with friends and family. Absolutely. And then afterwards you regret it. You like, oh, man, why did I let them piss me off like that?
Now, it doesn't happen too often to me at work, but away from work, yeah, all the time.
Okay.
But it goes back to what I was saying. Like when you do that, you'll say, oh, that person really set me off. You set you off.
Right. Only you did. Push your own button.
They
That's
didn't.
True.
I haven't told that before.
So, and now if they come up and physically try to hit you with something, you have to defend yourself. Then that's teetering the line. Now you have to do what you got to do. Like in my opinion, but like for you to set off, you set yourself. I mean, you put where your exploding point was. It may have been low, may have been high, but you controlled that.
Definitely.
You control.
Because you could have just left.
Okay.
Unless someone's physically trying to for me, that's where all stuff goes out the window. So if you try to hit me, then we're, weak.
So controlling emotions is difficult.
Absolutely.
That takes practice. You know what I mean? Like, when I think about controlled emotions, and hopefully nobody takes this as racist, I'm just telling the truth. But I think about Asian people. Like, Asian people are very well at controlling their emotions. I don't know what them jokers is thinking half the time I'm having conversations with them. I just don't. And I don't see them, get angry a lot, and I know they experience anger like everybody else. But what I'm saying is it must be something in their culture that deals with controlling your emotions. Because they got poker faces. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
they do.
Yeah. I don't never know, what their emotions really are. And as a black person, we tend to wear ours on a sleeve. You understand what I mean? So is this something we should look into controlling? Trying to master your emotions, as difficult as that may be, because that is difficult.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult.
I think it is, at least for me.
Just like I said, at work, I never have this issue. I never have this problem. At work, I'm the one who's controlling emotions around there. Like, emotions get out of control. I'm the one selling everything down. Everybody's always looking at me like, how you stay so positive? It's just, I guess I already have that. I guess it's practice over the years.
Well, I think with us as black people, any type of job situation, you basically have to control your emotions, right? So, like, you're kind of being forced at a job. Like, what I'm saying is, if you erupt at a job as a black person,
it's over.
It's going to have a different result than a white person who erupted at a job. Let's just be 100,
yes.
right? It's going to have a different result, So, I think we're kind of forced into it when it comes to the job, right? So let's just say when we're not being forced into it, like you said, at home, family, friends, or whatever, do we try to control our emotions?
Yes, self-discipline goes back to that. You just you have to try to, because again, there's no way you can be that angry and out of control and then your brain is working properly, because it just can't happen. The decision making isn't going to be from a sound place.
Right.
You just,
True.
That's why they say, like, I always hear people say, like, you should never punish your kids when you're angry.
Right. I've heard that.
Because you're not even
punish your kids when you're angry. Don't go to bed angry. You know what I mean? Don't have the discussion with your woman while you're upset until you calm down. So evidently emotions plays a big part. But I think it's easier said than done.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, once you're out of control, it's hard to bring yourself back down.
Well, I think as black people, because, we got hearts of lions, you understand what I mean? Like, anything that we unhappy with, we are just not afraid to tell you that. You understand me?
And that's not that good.
And all the time, that might not be the best situation, but we ain't afraid to tell you.
But that's the time when it takes you away from your focus. Like, when you're out of control, you're not focused at all.
Okay. Well, let's take another commercial break. We'll be back by the Man Radio Show.
Is what it is radio show.
Go ahead. All right, listen. All right, say situation. Cause I keep telling y'all, it's different situations in the child support thing. You can't just pinpoint one thing. You can't just say, "Oh, here did be. That's why you're on child support. Oh, he this. That's why you're on child support. Oh, she this. That's why she on child support." No, sometimes it could just go off of, "Oh, I just called him and asked him, can he pay for the pictures? He ain't want to pay for the pictures. I'm taking his ass downtown." Yup.
Well, you got to know. Know who you dating.
Hold up.
I
just called her and asked could she just get Junior some shoes. She couldn't even get him no church shoes. I'm taking her ass downtown. Now, when you go downtown, you go down there and you get $500. Right. Now you mad because you getting $500. And now you really ain't getting no shoes for Junior or Lord CC because you're getting $500 now. Right.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, if you're a good father or a good mother, and you're paying child support, right? You still gonna go ahead and do all that because
hold up.
It's just what it is.
Hold on, and that's another situation. Right. But you know what that.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
That he saved for himself, right? Because he made his money off. That's what his problem.
All right, we back, everybody.
They never tell you all.
All right, so emotional responses, he said, is bad, and that, anger is the worst one of all, which I think we all kind of know that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about love. So he says love and affection are also potentially destructive, and that they blind you to the often self-serving interests of those whom you least suspect of playing a power game. You cannot repress anger or love or avoid feeling them, and you should not try. But you should be careful about how you express them, and most important, they should never influence your plans or strategies in any way. So being blinded by love. Talk to me.
That would take massive self-control to not be influenced by your partner. If you're truly just blindly in love,
you just a beast.
Yeah, that'd be. I don't even know. Like you have to have. So is that for the experienced person, or is that for the?
He's saying He's saying these are things that you have to learn,
regardless,
before you even start playing this game. Right? You got to learn that controlling your emotions is a major part of being successful, and it's not just the emotion of anger, but also the emotion of love, because that can too blind you. Like if you can imagine in a situation, say like with work, and you hired a loved one, and they in there acting a fool, right? It reaches a point where you kind of know you should let them go, but then you thinking about what your grandmama gonna say when she find out you fired little Murphy.
Yeah, I got that master, because they getting let go.
You know what I'm saying?
They getting let go.
Right, so that love starts to play a part, and you could get blinded. So, I mean, what do y'all think? Any stories on being blinded by love and affection, and it became destructive in your life because it prevented you from seeing reality? No stories?
Nope. No comment.
All right, let's keep it moving. Love and affection. All right, he says power is essentially amoral, and one of the most important skills to acquire is the ability to see circumstances rather than good or evil. That's interesting. Power is a game. This cannot be repeated too often, and in games, you do not judge your opponents by their intentions, but by the effect of their actions. You measure their strategy and their power by what you can see and feel. How often are someone's intentions made the issue only to cloud and deceive? What does it matter if another player, your friend or rival, intended good things and had only your interests at heart, if the effects of his or her actions lead to so much ruin and confusion? It's only natural for people to cover up their actions with all kinds of justifications, always assuming that they have acted out of goodness. You must learn to inwardly laugh each time you hear this, and never get caught up in gauging someone's intentions and actions through a set of moral judgments that are really an excuse for an accumulation of power. Oh, that's deep.
That's a good one.
That's deep. So let's talk about this part right here, where he says, what does it matter if another player, friend, rival, intended good things, but what happened wasn't good? It was a whole lot of confusion and destruction.
So, it doesn't even, so whether they intended you good or not doesn't matter, because destruction happened.
Right, that's what he's getting at. So he's saying that in the game of power, you have to learn to recognize the difference and take the destruction for what it was, and not just, she didn't mean to do it that way. Because he said, because deep inside you don't know, she might have.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Right. Well, so when someone tells you I had good intentions, he's saying they could be using a power play on you to make you bypass the jacked up move they just made on you.
Or bypass that argument. Because if you're arguing with somebody,
right,
and you'd be like, but I didn't intend for it to come out like that. I'm
right,
trying to appease you so that you're not mad over what really happened.
Right. I slept with your man. I didn't intend to.
I didn't intend for that
to happen. It just kind of happened.
Happened like that.
So that doesn't change the circumstances, right? It doesn't change, the game. So he says, it is a game. Your opponent sits opposite of you. Both of you behave as gentlemen or ladies, observing the rules of the game and taking nothing personally. You play with a strategy, and you observe your opponent's moves with as much calmness as you can muster. In the end, you will appreciate the politeness of those who are playing with more and their good and sweet intentions. Train your eye to follow the result of their moves, their outward circumstances, and do not be distracted of anything else. So again, he's saying, look, it's a game.
This is exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's a game.
Like,
It is. It's a game, and this is how people are achieving power. This is how they're getting power over other people. This is how they're getting power through their jobs, so forth and so on. He says half of your mastery of power comes from what you do not do, what you do not allow yourself to get dragged into. For this skill, you must learn to judge all things by what they cost you. The value of a thing sometimes lies not in what one attains with it, but in what one pays for it. What is the cost for us? Perhaps you will attain your goal, and a worthy goal at that. But at what price? Apply this standard to everything, including whether to collaborate with other people or come to their aid. In the end, life is short, opportunities are few, and you have only so much energy to draw on. And in this sense, time is as important as consideration as any other. Never waste valuable time or mental peace of mind on the affairs of others. That is too high of a price to pay. Nate, come on with it, brother.
I know several people who have read this book.
Yeah.
And my only issue is I think it to a weak-minded individual or to especially a young person, this can be dangerous.
Yeah, yes.
This book in general can be dangerous in terms of I see it more dividing us instead of creating individually successful individuals.
Right.
And you know, I'm the person that y'all talking about. I don't feel like I have to treat someone disrespectfully. Yeah, I do understand.
Yeah, and see, that's how I felt. It goes against your moral code.
Well, it's not, because I see we all have to at some point rise, and I may have to stand on your shoulders or walk above you, but I don't have to have my shoes on when I'm doing it. Maybe I have to take my shoes and socks off.
That's a good point.
As opposed to trying to cut your throat,
right,
or cut you off at the knees, or suppress any type of success that you may have. And I think the danger in books like this is it has a lot of insight.
Right.
There's a lot of knowledge that we can use to be individuals. And what happens is, especially in our black community, it creates these seeds of doubt and hate and distrust that will keep us separated. And most of the people that I know who have read this book and utilize the principles of this book, I don't trust them.
According to this book, you shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the crazy thing, because you saying that, but we all know people who still read this and push this on other people.
Yeah,
so it's making me prepared, so that's why I would read it.
Yeah.
But it's sitting at home on my shelf, and I have yet to crack it open, because I know the people who have 3 people have given me this book.
Yeah.
And I don't trust them with their name.
Right.
So it keeps me from wanting to put that in my energy space.
Right. Oh, I get it. Yeah, I like what you said about not having to have the shoes on. Now, his analogy with that is he's saying you have an iron hand, but with a velvet glove. You get what I'm saying? So that's his trickery in that right there, right?
So it's not a mark.
Yeah, I get it, because I've had it myself almost 20 years, you know what I mean? And I can't tell you that I went through life applying it, because, again, when I initially read it, just morally, I'm like, man, this is deceptive, you know what I mean?
So Nate brought up the same issue that I brought up with, will this book work for the black community? Because it's already been destruction, it's already been deception, it's already been this and that. So if you mix people who really want to apply this, mixed with a moral code that really isn't that strong, not individuals as a whole. This is my personal opinion. So that itself, to me, because there's really no structure, because it's still like, even with this, a corporate structure I understand, but there's no what structure really is there? I mean, what is the for real? All the gangbangers gonna get this? Because then that's gonna be an issue.
See, and I'm just gonna be honest. Over the preface, you know what I mean? Because I want to give an understanding, because I know what it did to me when I read it. When I read it, I was just like, this ain't me. You know what I mean? Not only is this not me, but I think I know who it is. You know so it ain't me, but I know who it is, right?
So, like, you know, Mike, I got a lot to say.
Go for it, bro.
So if, like, let's just say You know who I really see this book being for? And I'm just going to be completely honest. Like someone who is under somebody with power.
Right.
And they have a mentor, but it's actually, when they actually give it to them to read and they ask that question, they can, and the person is truly knowledgeable, they can break down what that is. Okay. Because some of these rules, if you're trying to do them in plain black and white, it's very dangerous.
It definitely can
very
be dangerous. The author does say, pick through the book, you know, so he does tell you that. He's like, you know, like you go through this book and you find what laws that you feel like you can apply, you know what I mean? Yeah. So he's not trying to influence all 48 of these laws. But again, I have to go back to, this is all about power. Yeah. You understand what I mean? So it's all about power. So, you know, he's letting you know in order to get that power, you might have to do some things that ain't cool. Okay, so he says, finally, you must learn always to take the indirect route to power. Disguise your cunning. Like a billiard ball that caroons several times before it hits its target, your moves must be planned and developed in the least obvious way. By training yourself to be indirect, you can thrive in the modern court, appearing the paragon of decency while being the consummate manipulator. See? Stuff like that. Like, that's really not my cup of tea. You understand what I mean? But I thought it would make for a good discussion because there is a lot of black people that know about this book. You understand what I mean? And I wanted to give, you know, our take on it.
Not only that, I mean, it opens your eyes to paying attention now to what's around you, the people around you. Because even if the folks around you have read the book and want to, you know, utilize maybe some of the things that's in the book, at least you can, you know, your eyes are open to it now when it's happening around you.
Yeah, I think it'll help you understand some of the things that's going on around you. Like I said, rather you choose to actually apply some of these laws yourself, that's up to you. But at a minimum, hearing about the laws, having a discussion on them, might help you to recognize it when you experiencing it in a work environment. You know what I mean? So forth and so on. You might know what they doing. Like, oh, you know what? I know what he just did.
Right. Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? So just knowing the game. All right. So I just needed to go over that preface to help give an understanding before we dive into some of these laws. So I hope everybody understands what I was trying to communicate with that. You know, the book is about power. It's definitely got some things in it that does not sit with my moral code. I'm sure it's not going to sit with a lot of people's moral code. But the question remains if you choose to use it to get where you want to be. That's completely up to you. You know, but it's interesting to say the least. So, without further delay, let's crack into the first law. Law number 1. So I'm gonna give you the law, and we're gonna take a little break, and then we're gonna get into it. So law number 1 of the 48 laws of power: never outshine the master. He says, always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please and impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite. Inspire fear and insecurity. Make your master appear more brilliant than they are, and you will attain heights of power. Nate, you ain't feeling that one, huh? So never outshine the master. Now, that is that's definitely some trickery going on there, right? Now, I've experienced this myself, where, you know, I ended up outshining somebody and I didn't know I was. And so when I say I was outshining them, understand that's not my perspective. That's the perspective of the other person.
So which makes it true to them.
Yeah, it was true to them, right? It was true to them. But, like, my honor was actually towards that person in their business, trying to do right by them. But, you know, I was told that I had did so right that it made them feel I was outshining them. So I've actually experienced that, you know, and it wasn't cool, because you think that you're doing right by somebody and being dedicated, and then the whole time they're getting a little jealous. So hold that thought. Okay. We're going to take another commercial break, then we're going to get into the first law. Never outshine the master. Stay with us. Bye-bye.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Hey, everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show.
I'm just thankful this year I've dealt with, you know, some some growing pains, and I've overcome some things, and I've also, accomplished some things in the process. I've learned some things. Like, I've learned, I learned that everybody loves your work until they got to pay for it. That's what I learned. That's what I learned. I learned everybody loves what you do.
About the pay?
I mean,
not always.
Listen, the Bible says money answereth all things.
Well,
okay, and there is a place. There is a place where finances is necessary. And when you got kids and when you got a wife and then you doing everything and you top dog at what you do, especially when you weren't in the same place like with this radio show, you ain't in the same place you were a year ago. Should nobody be coming on the show and not donating to your show?
Can you say that on my show?
Should nobody be coming to your show?
Can you say that in the middle of the live?
Yeah, make that a promo, please.
Should nobody come on this show without donating? That is a nice commercial. I don't care if it's $20.
Donate.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Just a bit outside radio show.
There is one glaring stat that I read about while watching the games over the weekend. New York Yankees went 22 straight innings with at least one strikeout.
Really?
That's a major league record for the postseason.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting statistic.
It is, and then when you think about it, it's like, okay, that, to me, that's like a big reason why, they're losing right now.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
You are tuned in to BeExposedRadio.com.
So we were talking about critical thinking. So we definitely believe that critical thinking is one of the first things we need to start implementing, not just simply being told things. Or how about this? We tend to listen to people who get assigned certain positions.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So when they have certain positions, we tend to think that it's truth attached to that because of their position, right?
Right.
Is that always the case, though?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's probably one of the biggest reasons we should be doing some critical thinking.
Yes, I agree. I definitely.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
So we are covering the 48 Laws of Power, a book written by Robert Greene today. So the first half of the show, we kind of went over the preface to kind of give everybody an idea of how the book works. And now we actually getting into the laws. So the first law, never outshine the master. Law number 1. I'll read it again. Always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please and impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite. Inspire fear and insecurity. Make your master appear more brilliant than they are, and you will attain the heights of power. Talk to me. Right? That's what's up, Nate. Talk to me. Have you guys ever experienced this? Have you ever done this? Have you seen someone else do this? Or is this completely new?
I do it all the time. I'm saying. Like, no. Like, I make my manager feel like she's like the best thing in this world.
Okay.
Make sure she does not watch.
Yeah. And
BBD.
Whoever her manager.
She knows she's beautiful. I tell her all the time. She's beautiful. Best manager
here at the Black
I've ever had.
Show, we do not support any statement.
But gets me what I want.
Okay. Okay. Miss Dennis, what about you? The young world.
The young world.
Yeah. Have you, as a young lady, have you seen this before? Are you familiar with this? Or?
I mean, hearing the law, it makes sense because you never want to do or come off as being like a know-it-all and trying to, I guess, get on your manager's bad side.
Right.
But not something that I personally, have done. Or.
Okay. Jason.
I definitely have done it. It's really you just don't want to do it all the time. Sometimes it just happens, like Mike says.
Right.
But you don't want to be going out your way to
try to shine.
Like if you got the CEO here in the boardroom and he's speaking, you don't want to jump up in front and then do your thing because you ain't gonna have a job by the end of the meeting. So,
I mean, because even if you face it, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of us know more than our managers in the first place. I mean, a lot of our managers get to shine because of us. So we can't make them feel insecure because, you know, you want to continue to have the privileges that you have in your position. I mean, I'm not talking about me. I'm just saying people in general. But you want to continue to have the privileges that you have in your position, so you don't want to outshine them.
Like you gotta do just enough, but not too much. You gotta walk that fine line between.
So, which means we're going back to the fact that it's a game. Okay,
So,
all right.
You know what this?
I'm tying all that back in, right? It's a game.
You know what this book does? It makes you uncomfortable because you're seeing the truth, and then you're trying to compare that truth to your moral code.
Brother, that was a good way to put that, because that's what it does. It makes people uncomfortable. Yes, it does.
The start of the show, when you first started reading, I was uncomfortable. I really was. It was very uncomfortable.
Maybe I did that on purpose, displaying my power. All right, so let's keep moving, right? So he has what he calls keys to power for all of these laws, right? So here's what he says in his keys to power. He says, everyone has insecurities. When you show yourself in the world and display your talents, you naturally stir up all kinds of resentment, envy, and other manifestations of insecurity. This is to be expected. You cannot spend your life worrying about the petty feelings of others. With those above you, however, you must take a different approach. When it comes to power, outshining the master is perhaps the worst mistake of all. The law involves two rules that you must realize. First, you can inadvertently outshine a master simply by being yourself. There are masters who are more insecure than others, monstrously insecure. You may naturally outshine them by your charm and grace. Knowing the dangers of outshining your master, you can turn this law to your advantage. First, you must flatter and puff up your masters. Over flattery can be effective but has its limits. It is too direct and too obvious and looks bad to the courtiers. Discreet flattery is much more powerful. If you are more intelligent than your masters, for example, seem the opposite. Make him or her appear more intelligent than you. Act naive. Make it seem that you need their expertise. Commit harmless mistakes that will not hurt you in the long run, but will give you the chance to ask for his or her help. Masters adore such requests. A master who cannot bestow on you the gifts of his or her experience may direct rancor and ill will at you instead.
I mean, that's going a little bit overboard.
We just jumped off the deep end.
That's going a little bit overboard. I mean, at this point, you have to, like, mess up on purpose now.
You gotta make mistakes yourself.
That's what he's saying. You know, just to make them feel more secure about who they are.
They're going to have to find another way to feel secure.
Find another way? Okay.
They're going to have to find another way to be secure then.
I definitely get it.
Yeah, that's a no-no.
I get it.
That's something they can use against you later.
Okay, so what about when it says you can inadvertently outshine your master by just being yourself?
You have no control over
right,
that That one you just have to go get out of there before they kill you. And for you with the old king days,
they definitely kill you. They definitely kill you. But like if you're just being yourself, right? How do you know you outshining them? Go ahead, Nate.
Are these principles for like somebody else's dream that you're working towards, or is this like every day? This is how I treat Mike and this gentleman right here. Is this everyday treatment? Or
yeah. Well,
I have an issue with the word master being written in this book. First of all,
right.
This is how we're supposed to treat each other, because this sounds like a workplace job environment. This doesn't sound like.
Yeah, I think it's most suitable for like a workplace environment, right? But what he is saying is that any type of power that you want to achieve, whether it's the workplace or amongst your friends, you know, this is his take, right? He's saying you can pick through these laws and apply some of them to get where you're trying to get. But yeah, I see it more like a work thing. You know what I mean? Because what kind of power are you going to get from your friends? You know, family or whatever. You get what I mean? So yeah, that's how I take it. But yeah, but that's not how he's saying it. He's saying power, period, in this society. Whatever type of power you seeking.
you know, I'm not to pick on Nate, but I see what he's saying, even when he said by the word master and who. But see, here we go, being humans again. I've noticed most people people like labels, or people like labels. So I understand actually what he's doing by putting that label, because it's showing you your actual position.
It's definitely reality.
Yeah.
And I think because at the beginning he referred to it as the old aristocratic court. Yeah. So I think that would be his excuse for using the word master.
we still follow those labels today.
Yeah, we do.
Because if you say, "Oh, she's a PhD," we like that label.
Hey, I'm a master barber.
Yeah, master barber.
I'm a master.
Yeah,
but a master barber.
I see that we have an issue when we're actually the underling in the situation.
Okay.
That's where the issue comes from most people, because when I add that same reaction, I'm like, master, who's my master?
Who's my master?
But that
Black
person
don't take kind to that word.
So there's just maybe history in our situation that makes us feel that way.
Yeah.
But we do follow labels.
Right.
We do like labels, because that's just a label.
Well, I'm glad Nate actually said that, because that allowed you to give clarity.
Yeah.
Because I forgot all about that. But yeah, that was a good point, Nate. Yeah. But because in my mind, I'm just thinking the aristocratic part of it, right? And I know that's why he's using the word master. But yeah, it definitely is a word that we're not that friendly with. But he's definitely referring to the bosses. You know what I mean? Like that's what he's referring to. But yeah, his claim is you can use these laws in life, but it seems like work would be where most of this would apply. You know, trying to achieve some type of power. So law number 1: never outshine the master. Everybody thinks that's a good law. Or tell me what y'all really feel about this law.
I think it depends on the position you are in at work. I don't know. In some positions, you don't want to be outshining your master.
Well, according to him, you don't want to outshine your master in any position.
I mean,
that's what he's saying.
In some positions, it don't matter, because I mean, you trying to get to a certain level yourself. So if you're trying to get to a certain level, if you have to outshine the master, outshine him.
Okay.
I mean, if it's going to get you to where you have to go. Yeah, no.
Okay, so we got one that don't agree with the, law number 1.
I mean, if you're a skillful person yourself and you have what you need to succeed, then outshine them.
Okay. So we agree or disagree?
I'm just saying
this. So I think she's saying for situations that you don't care about.
Right.
Maybe you pick up a seasonal job at Target.
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't care who you outshining.
Right.
This is the part time you picking up for 3 months.
Right. So you pick and choose when you want to apply. So you pick and choose when you want to apply. Okay.
But if you're a marketing director in your company, and at that point, you might want to lay back a little bit.
But I understand how you would go about if it's about getting the power. If you want to get past that position, how do you go about it without outshining your master?
That was going to be my next question. When she said marketing director, my question was going to be, but how do you become the marketing director?
Because you can, even when you want to get out of that position and get to another one, you can use your master to get to that next level. Because your master, I mean, I don't know nothing about this master stuff, but but anyway, your manager can be, your great reference point, or could have some other different type of connections for you to get you to your next level too. So you have to be careful in certain positions of outshining your manager, because your manager has, they know some people and they can help you out a little bit too. So
and I definitely understand the take on the word master. You know what I mean? Because I know that presents a problem with us.
It just depends on the position
you're in. Try to keep it in that frame of mind, because master, of course, to us takes us back to somewhere mentally we don't even want to think about. But the word is used. You know what I mean? Like if you watch Oprah's little show, she's got the section what she calls it the master class. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And who's on there? Her and Denzel and Jay-Z and all that. So that's what they're getting at. These type of masters, you know what I mean? That's sitting at the top. Okay.
But and at the end of the day, you still have to be smart about it, because I mean, just think, you're not just going to take the vice president's job just like that. So you might want to be careful about.
I think what he's getting at with the whole book is that if you want power, you're going to have to do some things that might not fit with your moral code, and if you don't, that's cool. But just know that you're probably gonna get trampled on by those who the game's still being played. So you can opt out, but you still in it. You just choosing not to play.
And you're always going to get a little bit more power. Each assignment you take, you're going to get more and more power. As you're growing within your career, the different assignments you take is going to give you more and more power until you get to the level of power that you want to be at. So
you think it's power of just staying there?
Staying where?
At your position. That's what you're saying.
No.
The more you be there.
Yeah, it's just certain ways of doing things.
Okay.
Yeah, but the person who's following these laws, they're gonna get there.
Oh, they're going to the top.
They're getting to the top.
They're gonna put a footprint on the back of your head on the way up there.
I'm just speaking as a black woman.
Okay.
It's quicker for some people to get,
Well, let me read a comment here.
Some people get to the top quicker,
so
but
this is Mr. Eric Daniels.
Be careful.
What's up, Eric? Appreciate you tuning in, brother. So Eric says it is a strategic planning move, like playing chess. Right move at the right time to benefit.
Yep.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I agree with that, Eric. That's what's up. So that's pretty much, I think, what you trying to get at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I have people. There are some people on the job who will come to me all the time and be like, do you see yourself in your manager's position? No, I'm at the highest position that I can be at this company. I'm at the highest position now. For me to go to another position, I have to leave the company. I just have to go somewhere else.
Okay.
But I wouldn't try to take my manager job, because when I do decide to leave, I'm going to use her to get to where my next level of power.
So that's part of your strategy.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm just saying it's just different
to get power.
Right. It's just different strategies you take. Whatever's going to work best for you.
I definitely like the first law because I've experienced it, and wasn't paying attention when I experienced it, but I found out later on that's what it was, So I think it does have some truth in it, and I think you definitely have to be careful with outshining, whoever the master is or whatever you involved with. It can bring out some insecurities in people. Like people are not as secure as we think they are. Trust me. Some people with some good positions you would think are secure, but they don't quite act that way.
They're not as secure because just like Jason said, a lot of them got there by making a certain power move of getting there. They didn't get there from what they know or anything about the job. They just got there strictly from throwing people under the bus, being cutthroat and everything else, and that's how they got there. So
put your feelings aside.
That's what he's saying.
I feel like any sort of power move that you make, you gotta compartmentalize your feelings, emotions, anything that can hinder you from going after what you want. It's not all about, oh well, I didn't mean to do this to someone, so I feel bad about it. He was just collateral damage, and you getting where you want to go. That's
what this man is saying. You get what I'm saying? That's what he's getting at.
Isn't it funny how humans work? So what if, say Mike puts his foot on my neck to get to where he got to go, right? When Mike gets crushed at the top, should he be angry? Should he have any feelings?
He shouldn't be.
He shouldn't be.
But
he's gonna be.
Gonna be though.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah. Yeah, because like my personal experience, I've never done anything like to be deceptive to someone else to try to get where I need to be, But I'll play the devil's advocate here. I do understand what he's saying about the game.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it's a game being played. So like you can be in the game and opt not to play, but the game rocks on. You get what I'm saying? You just know that you're going to be limited to how far you can go if you ain't willing to get down in them trenches, get a little down and dirty. But okay, trade down. Let's move on. So let's go to law number 2. So law number 2 is never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Dun, dun, dun. He says, be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy, and he will be more loyal than a friend, because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from a friend than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make some.
Ooh, make enemies.
That's really different, right?
This law to me is very tricky, because you can't like when we leave here, we're looking at all of our friends like
everybody side eye.
So with this, I view this as friends as acquaintances, because you have some people who you're really, really close to. I got friends that's like 1 or 2 that's like my family. So I look at them differently. Then I got friends, so we'll say acquaintances, and I still may hang out with them or do whatever, but I don't view them as these two or three other people.
Okay.
So to me, it's how you. It depends the relationship and what you actually call a friend, because everyone has different definitions. So I would use this and say acquaintance or coworker.
Okay.
Because that's what I was about to say too.
Yeah.
Jason, maybe like Nate said, maybe if they're speaking about work and you're saying friends as far as work, that's a different friend.
Yeah.
So yes, you may want to look out for them a little more, because you're like a good friend of yours in your everyday life. I mean, they can't affect you at work. So.
Okay. Is this book written from the perspective of a business owner to like I'm informing the people that work for me? Because it feels really pointed as if the people who own the business aren't being talked to.
Right.
Everybody underneath them. The crazy thing, I see the issue is if you don't know who you are or what you want, these rules apply or could apply for you.
Okay.
If you know what you want, you go into a job not worrying about how bright your light is versus somebody else's light. Because you are supposed to learn from your employer.
Right.
You're supposed to learn those tactical things, how to run a business, accounting, all those things, because your ultimate goal should be, if it is, to have your own business in whatever field you're choosing. But people are going to college or just choosing jobs because they pay well. So these rules apply to them.
Right.
If you're just chasing a paycheck.
Right.
And that's as you read more. I still don't want to read the book.
You know you want to read that book, Nate.
I'm not impressionable, but I feel like it brings into your own energy.
Right.
I think these rules apply to people who don't know what they want.
Right.
And are chasing somebody else's goal and feel comfortable living in your dream and making you money. If I work for Sam Walton's family, the Walmart brand, or one of those corporations, these rules apply to you because I don't have a dream outside of me clocking in 9 to 5.
Okay.
So as you read more, this is what I'm getting from.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, touche, my friend. Yeah, I got you.
I think me and Nate are having the same problem, so I'm going to recant my statement. And here's what I'm going to say.
First statement ever recanted on the Black Body Man radio show.
I'm taking back my time. What did she say? I'm taking it back.
Reclaiming your time.
Reclaiming my time. So, what me and Nate is having an issue. So, the reason I'm recanting that, this is exactly, see, you want to rationalize stuff, so I take it back. He meant your friends. Yep, he did.
Yeah,
because what happens is when you're uncomfortable with something, because I'm thinking about 2 or 3 of my closest friends, I said, damn, I got to view them as enemies, so I became uncomfortable. He meant your friends, point blank period, that's it.
Look, I'll tell you what he says on the keys to power, right? He says it's natural to want to employ your friends when you find yourself in times of need.
See?
Now, when he says employ, he's referring to work and help on anything, right? He says the world is a harsh place and your friends soften the harshness. Besides, you know them. Why depend on a stranger when you have a friend at hand, right? The problem is that you often do not know your friends as well as you imagine. Friends often agree on things in order to avoid an argument. They cover up their unpleasant qualities so as to not offend each other. They laugh extra hard at each other's jokes. Since honesty rarely strengthens friendships, you may never know how a friend truly feels. Friends say that they love you. No, friends say that they love your poetry, adore your music, envy your taste in clothes. Maybe they meant it. Often they do not.
You got me questioning every question right now.
You see how I recanted the statement before you read it.
Look,
that's what I was saying. That's what he meant.
It's more, right? He says when you decide to hire a friend, you gradually discover the qualities that he or she has kept hidden. Strangely enough, it is your act of kindness that unbalanced everything. The problem with using or hiring friends is that they will inevitably limit your power. The friend is rarely the one who is most able to help you, and in the end, skills and competence are far more important than friendly feelings.
Yep.
Anybody can write a book. This is dangerous.
This is serious. He does not like it at all. This is
they
serious.
ain't feeling this book.
It makes you uncomfortable.
It
that's
is
why I
very
said,
uncomfortable.
That's why I said I had to I had to say, oh, that's what he's talking about because I knew.
And I think this is in terms of it could be used as building your own business or working in somebody else's firm because the natural thing to do and how other cultures achieve is they hire their family and friends.
Right.
One, because I don't have to pay you.
Right.
You can pay your cell phone bill or you can pay your car note that month.
Right.
Opposed to having to pay you the required living wage. And that's how I
That's still a power move.
you don't hire friends all the time because they don't want what you want, and they aren't family who understands your dream and want to invest in you.
Right.
That's why you don't hire friends.
Right.
So this is, I'm understanding.
Yeah, this is deep.
No.
Read this book.
Right.
On the principles are the way they are because they're really cutthroat.
Yeah. This is very cutthroatish. Okay, he says all working situations require a kind of distance between people. You are trying to work, not make friends. Friendliness, real or fake, only obscures that fact. The key to power, then, is the ability to judge who is best able to further your interests in all situations. Keeping friends for friendship, but work with the skilled and competent. Your enemies are an untapped gold mine that you must learn to exploit. Without enemies around us, we grow lazy. An enemy at our heels sharpens our wits and keeps us focused and alert. It's sometimes better then to use enemies as enemies rather than transforming them into friends or allies. All right, so he's saying if you ain't got no enemies, your drive is going to go down because the enemies is what keeps pushing you to want to do better and keep them off your heels. Y'all tell me about that. Is that true or? This is getting juicy.
It makes sense in the business aspect. Like if you're, I guess, like a marketing company, you're gonna constantly compete, and they'll push you to do better.
Okay.
And I did the same thing. Nate did it. You've done it. She's done it. We're using all this stuff in the business world. Take the business world out of it. This is life. Take
That's
business.
how he sees it.
Take business.
That's definitely how the
take
office
business
sees it.
because you're trying to. What's happened is we're to order to make ourselves comfortable, we're putting these scenarios in play that really isn't. So you can never use these laws because you're picking and choosing.
Right.
This is what this is. It's either you gonna touch it or you're not gonna touch it. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Because you can't use these. You're trying to manipulate a law, and the system is set up. You're not strong enough to do that. You can't manipulate a law.
I don't want this.
You can't, because I caught myself. That's why I recanted. That's why I recanted. I said, "Oh, I tried to rationalize my close friends," and I said, "That's not what." And then when you read the statement, I said, "Yeah, okay," because I said that's not what he's talking about. Because me and Nate are having the same issue over here. I said, "Oh, okay, he's talking about your friends, whether you like it or not." I can't lie to myself.
Right.
So he's talking about your friends.
I'm telling you, man, this book is interesting. Like. It may get you rich, but goddamn it, I don't think nobody gonna like you.
Right, exactly.
This is for a certain type of individual, though.
It is, and he does say that. He does say that. Yeah.
Everybody's not built for this, as they say. Everyone's not built for it.
Let me see if I can revisit that for you, and I'll tell you exactly what he says. Because he spoke on that.
And to have the book without a mentor who actually has experience with the book. Not to say the person can't get through it, but usually these books are passed down or you read about it somewhere, or like to know someone who's read it and has used it, but has used it in a way to where it's, I don't know. It's because you can interpret things wrong.
Yes.
That's it. If you don't have prior knowledge.
Right, you can interpret it wrong because as you can see, we only did the first two
laws.
and
I
we're having problems.
And 48 of them. 2 laws in.
We did 2, and we're having problems. So.
2 laws in, and it is disturbing people's nature.
This is not in private. This is out there, so it's more difficult to what you would. You know how it is, right? What you accept if you're reading by yourself and your own thinking versus you just here getting it. You're like, oh, okay.
My man Archie told me to continue to kick the knowledge. That's what's up, Archie. I am, my brother. I got you. We're going to put it out there and get somebody talking here today. Yeah, so the whole friend thing. I mean, I think he makes valid points about friends. And I do agree with working situations do require a type of distance that you have to keep between people. That's what we were saying earlier. You know, you got to get that balancing act where you're not being antisocial, but at the same time, you ain't inviting them over for drinks. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I do agree at work, too, you use your enemies more than you use your friends.
Yeah, well, that's what Terry said. Terry made a comment on her, Terry Haig, and Terry says, let me find you here, Terry. Is this like the old statement of keep your friends close but your enemies closer? I think it is, Terry. I think it is. I think that's definitely another way of putting that. But yeah, that's interesting, man. This dude's shaking up the world, right? And the book's been around a long time, and it is a national bestseller. So it's definitely some people in the world who love this.
Millions of them.
Right, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I know a lot of cats that, you know, went away for a little while, and this is one of the books they read, and they love to talk about it.
Well, that definitely I mean, in a rough circumstance like that, I can see how this would apply.
Right.
It's point blank period, because you closed in a space with people. You can't go to the hotel or go up to, you know, on a vacation. You were in there.
You're in there, right?
So.
All right, well, let's keep it moving. Let's keep the ugliness rolling. Law number 3.
It's too much.
Okay.
But it's good. I like it.
You want to break down, Nate? Okay. All right. So we'll introduce the third law, and then we're going to talk about it when we come back from break. So for the audience, as well as my guests here today, that y'all can think about this meanwhile. So law number 3 is conceal your intentions. And I'll just read it real quick. It says, keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it will be too late.
Woo! Yeah, that's true. I read that in a.
That's some fire, man.
I read that somewhere else.
Do yourself a favor and listen to this hilarious flashback on Charm City Direct Radio Show.
You know me. I eat like this all the time. Do I gain any weight? No, at all. You can have my belly right now. I'm giving away body parts. Somebody said they need a butt. Somebody said they
I
need
can use a
butt.
little extra tissue there.
I can pop it right now.
He out here giving out butt cheek donations. Hey everybody, it's your girl, the magical glow getter herself, Anissa Maureen, co-host of the Charm City Direct Radio Show. Catch me and the rest of my team every Saturday, 5 to 7 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
All right, we back, everybody. Black Bottom Man Radio Show with your boy, Brother Mike. We are going over the 48 Laws of Power today, so we are on law number 3. Conceal your intentions. Very interesting. Can't let everybody know what you're thinking. So I'll read it again. Law number 3, conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it'll be too late. They shaking his head.
No, because this sounds And also went matriculated through a hierarchy system and is at some corporate environment, because this is what people from the hood do to each other on a daily basis.
They do.
And this is how we relate. Like when I show you my heart, I'm weak now.
Right.
And I can't do that because now you have an upper.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's true.
Show your heart.
Okay, so conceal your intentions. Let's go over his keys to power. Keys to power for law number 3. He says most people are open books. They say what they feel, blurt out their opinions at every opportunity, and constantly reveal their plans and intentions. They do this for several reasons. First, it is easy and natural to always want to talk about one's feelings and plans for the future. It takes effort to control your tongue and monitor what you reveal. Second, many believe that by being honest and open, they are winning people's hearts and showing their good nature. They are greatly deluded. Honesty is actually a blunt instrument which bloodies more than it cuts. Your honesty is likely to offend people. It is much more prudent to tailor your words, telling people what they want to hear rather than the coarse and ugly truth of what you feel or think. More importantly, by being unabashedly open, you make yourself predictable and familiar that it is almost impossible to respect or fear you, and power will not accrue to a person who cannot inspire such emotions. If you yearn for power, quickly lay honesty aside and train yourself in the art of concealing your intentions. Master the art, and you will always have the upper hand.
So this ties into the law of compensation. When I had watched that video, it was a YouTube video I had watched, and right before it did the law of compensation, it said, if you want to hold value to others, which is, that don't talk about yourself, listen. So, and the reality is what that's saying too. If you're so open and talking about yourself, you don't have any value that's being provided, because you definitely, your value is you're not being respected, like you just said, and you're not being respected, and people are not going to fear you because, again, you just blurted out all this stuff about you.
Right.
So even if it's not trying to gain power, most people are turned off by that because you're not listening.
Yes.
So talking less, listening more provides you more value to a person.
Definitely telling people what they want to hear. That's going to get you a little bit of power too, because they're always going to run to you first. They know you're going.
Do that.
They know you're going to tell them what they want to hear you.
We all do that. You know, the old, does this dress make my butt look big, or
well, you learned a long time ago.
to say no, baby, it looks beautiful. In all reality, it might not be like that, but he like, I ain't telling him.
You gotta be out your mind and
certain people for certain things.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain people that you go to for relationship advice because they're gonna tell you, oh, it's cool. He ain't do nothing that bad. You can stay with him, and then justify what you're already thinking. They just reaffirming that for you.
I definitely believe in this particular law. Now, my reasoning behind it was not like his. I just always concealed my intentions because I learned as I got older that, like, this is before we was using the word hate, right? So we wasn't calling it hating back then, but like people wanted to see you fail. You get what I'm saying? So like if you told somebody, all right, look, I'm going back to school next semester. I'm gonna, try to get my act together, right? They're like, all right, that's cool, right? So you go back to school, right? And then your second semester in, life just starts kicking in, and you got to drop out, right? Okay, that person will hear that you dropped out from somebody else. Like, yeah, you heard Mike had stopped going to school. Oh, did he? Okay, so when that person sees me, first thing they're going to say is, bro, how's school going? No, now, you know damn good and well somebody already told you I dropped out, right? But see, they love having that ammo against you, right? So when I realized that, I stopped telling people what I was doing. So that way, when I accomplished it, if you was in support of me, you're going to be happy when I tell you that. Like, yeah, okay, I finished that project or whatever, right? If you are against me, it's going to be a dagger in your heart because you're going to feel robbed. You're going to feel like he never even told me he was working on that. And then he's just going to come tell me it's done. Yes, exactly. And then it also leaves a path that if I fall off and I'm not able to complete it, I don't have to worry about no kickback from nobody. Nobody throwing that in my face because I never even told them I was working on it.
A friend once told me to stop concealing all of my intentions, because even a lot of times when you do that, and even if you're saying something like, I'm about to start a business, I'm going to do this, that, that same friend will come back to you months later, they see you like, you started your business yet? You be like, no. Oh, I did. I started one, and so forth.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the other part. When you reveal them.
So forth and so on. So you have to be careful with that, too. Or if you tell people what you're planning to do, you have to be careful with that, too. So
true.
So look, here Jason's gonna go off again. You see how again, like we're all comfortable with this law, so we okay.
Right.
But when it's something we not, but it's because when you accept 3, you gotta accept 1. This is the 48 laws.
Sure.
Even though he tells you can pick, but you see, it's funny how because I like that law too. But reality is, I didn't like 2.
Well, okay.
I didn't like 2 because it made me uncomfortable.
See, I like all of them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I apply all of them. Use all of them. But I like having the knowledge of them so I can recognize it.
Absolutely.
That's what I was about to
Mike,
say.
Now I gotta go
like
home
them.
today and go read through these laws, Mike. What you got me out there?
Can you imagine? We only going over the first couple ones, right? So we just going over the first couple ones. You can imagine next show we're gonna go over quite a few more.
I'm
gonna be ready.
Yeah, I like it strictly because of the knowledge you get from it too. I like it. It's just I like it.
Like Mike said, people are playing this, so you don't. Whether you want to read these or not, this is he even knows 3. Nate knows 3 people who read it, and he said he don't trust them.
Right.
So the whole point is, people are applying this. I didn't know Mike had this book. I didn't know Nate had this book. I had this book. Y'all ain't know.
See, he didn't know because I concealed my intentions.
So people are applying it. So even if you're not going to apply, you should probably read it.
Yeah, see, I think at a minimum, it's going to school you to what's going like.
I don't care if you.
I always say you see through your vampire eyes.
If you just want this preface page and you just read through the preface pages of the 48 law, you don't have to read the book, but you need to be aware. You need to be aware of the laws because people are playing.
A synopsis, a recap of all of it. Yeah, that's true. So everybody cool with conceal your intentions.
Yep.
Man, y'all wicked.
I'm
owning
it. Conceal your intentions. Okay.
That's this game
so
called life.
Let's squeeze in. Shoot. Let's squeeze in another one, right? Because we running short on time. That's why we gonna do it again next week. All right. So law number 4. Always say less than necessary.
That goes back into that law of when we did the law of conversation, where they say you don't hold any. When you start talking too much, you no longer hold any value to anyone, because at a certain point, it's just like nobody wants to hear about you all day. They just don't.
2 minutes. Always say less than necessary. So this is what I'm going to say about that.
Right.
Cool. Okay, so he says, when you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, which is some pious word for obvious and boring, right? It will seem original if you make it vague, open-minded, and Sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Now, I've been a victim of that before.
Me too.
That silence will cause you to say something stupid, right? So 1 minute. Let's read his keys to power. He says, power is in many ways a game of appearances. And when you say less than necessary, you inevitably appear greater and more powerful than you are. Your silence will make other people uncomfortable. Humans are machines of interpretation and explanation. They have to know what you're thinking. When you carefully control what you reveal, they cannot pierce your intentions or your meaning. Your short answers and silences will put them on the defense, and they will jump in, nervously, filling the silence with all kinds of comments that will reveal valuable information about them and their weakness. They will leave a meeting with you feeling as if they had been robbed, and they will go home and ponder your every word. This extra attention to your brief comments will only add to your power. By saying less than necessary, you have the appearance of meaning and power. Also, the less you say, the less risk you run of saying something foolish and dangerous. Wow, this is deep. I'm gonna need a shower after I finish this show. Oh, I feel dirty. I need a shower.
So
bro.
That goes back to what I said in that opening that video, that long conversation. They said the same exact thing. That's when I saw it, I said, "Oh, okay."
Right,
they said the same. You hold no value when you just start talking
you know,
reckless and saying everything.
That's definitely a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, shocker, right? It's a challenge for me because I just sometimes run my mouth and I shouldn't, you know. So I got to try to work on it. But we running out of time though. Let's see what we looking at. Yeah, we running out of time. Okay. So this is how we gonna do it. We're gonna do part 2 on this, right? Which will be next week, and then we're gonna be on break. So last show will be on the 11th, and we'll be back on January. Station to be up and running again. We'll be back on the 8th, right? So we'll be back on the 8th, but we're gonna do the next show. Please tune in with us. This is gonna be great. We'll do part 2, and we're gonna go over more of the law, the 48 laws of power. So just quick recap, closing comments, Ms. Janice, 48 laws of power.
It was awesome. I like it. I just like it because I like what I learned from it.
Cool. Miss Samantha Nicole Dennis.
It makes you uncomfortable, man.
Uncomfortable is good. We achieved something.
Yeah.
Mr. Jason Gomes.
I'm just here to listen and to learn.
Okay. All right. And as far as me, I like law number 4. Always say less than necessary. All right. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the day. Check y'all on the thick side. You already know the black side.
It's time for a flashback.
Now, I'm not gonna say all Aries don't know. But
it's just the one you had. That was
just
just
a particular one, right? You know. Yeah. But it's always something that you can
go ahead, Bliss. Can you recollect any signs that you might not get right?